Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at gerunds. Now, anyone who's read Molesworth will know that a gerund is a verbal noun. It is a singular verbal noun, and in English it ends in ing, like swimming or running or loving or being. Those are gerunds. And they are not to be confused with participles, because in English they sound exactly the same. They look the same, they sound the same. Okay, a participle is an adjective and it describes a noun. So I am looking at the nodding dog, for example. It is a dog which is nodding, and nodding describes it. In English, they end in ing. But a gerund is a noun. And in English, it also ends in ing. But it's a noun formed from a verb. And the best example of that would be something like seeing is believing. Okay? So the concept of seeing, sight, seeing, is believing, the concept of believing. Okay? Now those words seeing and believing aren't describing anyone or anything. They just are the thing itself, the concept of seeing or believing. Okay? So that's what a gerund is in English. It is a verbal noun. A noun formed from a verb and very closely related to the verb. But it isn't a verb. It isn't, it doesn't have persons and numbers. It's not I am seeing, you are believing, she is seeing, we are believing. Those are verbs. It is just the sort of topic of seeing or believing. Okay, now in Latin, they're pretty easy. They're very easy to form. You just add undum or endum onto the present stem of the verb. Okay, so verbs like amo, present stem amar, you add undum and you get amandum, rogandum, vocandum, ambulandum. Okay, verbs like moneo, you add undum again because the stem of moneo verbs ends in an e. So moneo, present stem mone, the gerund of moneo is monendum. And all verbs that go like that, videndum, or manendum, or persuadendum. Okay? Rego verbs, you add endum, because the stem of rego verbs is that consonant, like reg. So we get regendum, or ducendum, or canendum. Okay? Audio, the present stem ends in an I, like audi. So we're going to add endum and we get audiendum. And finally, capio type verbs, mixed conjugation verbs, you get capiendum. Okay? So that's how you form gerunds. They are singular, neuter nouns. They decline like bellum. Okay? Only ever found in the singular. And the other thing to know about them is that they are only ever found in the accusative case after a preposition, okay? Never as the direct object of anything. So an accusative case after a preposition, and then the other cases, genitive, dative, or ablative, if there is a way of getting them into those cases, and there are ways, which I'll talk to you about. Okay, so basic idea that in English they're going to be words that end in ing, and they're going to sound like participles but not be participles. And in Latin they are singular neuter nouns that go like bellum. Okay, so for example, you might describe a young prince as prepared for ruling. Okay, he's been to king's school or whatever, and he's now prepared for ruling. So that would be paratus, okay, prepared, having been prepared, paratus ad regendum, prepared for ruling, towards ruling, paratus ad regendum. And this young prince might say that actually the art of ruling is pretty easy, okay. The art of ruling, that would be ars regendi, okay. So there you've got regendi in the genitive case of ruling, the art of ruling, ars regendi. And he might carry on to say that, you know, he gets worn out by ruling, okay? Regendo, by ruling. He might be fessus regendo, tired from ruling, okay? So there you have a verbal noun being used in various sort of contexts, never as the subject of a sentence or as the object of a sentence. Now, that's because if you want to use it as the subject or the object, you wouldn't use a gerund in Latin at all. You would use an infinitive. So, for example, the well-known phrase, seeing is believing, okay? Now, those are gerunds. Seeing, the concept of seeing, is believing, the concept of believing. But in Latin, you do that using the present infinitive. Okay, to see is to believe. You wouldn't use a gerund. And you might say something like, he likes ruling. Okay, so he likes amat, and then he likes the concept of ruling. But although in English that is a gerund, in Latin you would use the infinitive, and you would say amat regere, or regere amat. He likes to rule. Okay, so that's pretty much it for what a gerund is, how you form it. We'll just have a quick look at how you form the gerund from an irregular verb. Well, the good news is most of the irregular verbs don't have gerunds. So the verb sum doesn't have one. Possum doesn't have one. Nolo, wallow, marlow, they don't have them. Eo, now eo I go, you absolutely have a gerund from that, and it is eundum, okay? It's kind of pretty irregular in formation that you wouldn't know which bit of the verb you'd gone to get its sort of stem to create the gerund. You just learn it, it's eundum, okay? And then the only other area you might have a little bit of confusion over is deponent verbs. Okay, so with a deponent verb, you kind of behave in the same way that we behaved when we were learning participles from deponent verbs. So you basically look at what conjugation the deponent verb is, and then mimic the formation of that conjugation. So conor, conari, that's a first conjugation deponent verb. Conor, the gerund, is conandum, like amandum. Whereas loquor, now loquor is a third conjugation deponent verb. So the gerund of loquor is loquendum, copying regendum. Okay, so that's how deponent verbs behave. And then before we have some practice at all of this, just one other thing to say, and that is that the noun causa in Latin, first declension noun causa, is very often used in the ablative and is followed by a genitive in the expression for the sake of. So causa parcis means for the sake of peace. Strictly speaking, that word causa is in the ablative, it's kind of with the cause, and then followed by a genitive, parcis. But it's very, very common to use causa with a gerund, which again will go in the genitive. The only thing to look out for is that when you use causa with a gerund, the gerund comes in front of the word causa. So for the sake of ruling, would be regendi causa and not the other way around. Okay, bit peculiar, but it's a really common use of a gerund, and it's a really common use of that word causa, and it's another way of doing a purpose clause. You know, he came to Rome for the sake of ruling, regendi causa. In other words, that's why he came to Rome. Okay, now we'll have a little go at that. In the book, we are in chapter 9 now of the course. If we have a little look at exercise 9.2, we've got some nice easy peasy little sentences here. The first one, omnes sciebant lovem peritum fallendi esse. Okay, now, omnes sciebant, everyone knew, everyone was knowing, everyone knew, lovem. Now, lovem is the accusative case of Jupiter. So that's, you know, we say by Jove or by Jupiter. Well, that's because in Latin, Jupiter is the nominative and the accusative is lovem. And it carries on lovis, lovi, love. So by Jove, Yahweh is the ablative of Jupiter. That's why it ends up as Jove, I suppose. So everyone knew that Jupiter, peritum, now peritus means skillful, so everyone knew Jupiter esse to be, so everyone knew that Jupiter was, it's an indirect statement. Now what was he? He was peritum fallendi, skillful, and then fallendi, that's the genitive of a gerund, and it means of deceiving. So everyone knew that Jupiter was skillful at deceiving, or skillful at deceit. Okay, second one. Cavete ioannes vendendi peritus. Okay, beware, that's the imperative of caveo. Beware, young men, vendendi peritus, skillful, peritos, and it's got this genitive of a gerund, vendendi, skillful, literally of selling, but peritus followed by the genitive, we in English say skillful at. So beware, young men who are skillful at selling. Okay, they're kind of tricksters when it comes to selling you stuff. Okay, number 3. Virtuti militum, qui artibus pugnandi ducti erant, dux semper fidem habebat. Now, fidem habeo is the Latin for to put your trust in someone, to have faith with someone, and it's followed by the dative. So, where do we go? We're looking for the subject, and we're kind of shuffling around the sentence thinking, blimey, what's going on here? We're tuti militum qui, that's a relative clause. Diddly diddly. Near the end, we've got dux. So, dux semper fidem habebat. The leader always, fidem habebat, put his trust in, okay? And now we want to find who did he put his trust in. We want a dative case, because that phrase is followed by the dative. So the Duke always put his trust in virtuti militum, the courage of his soldiers. Okay? And then what kind of soldiers are they? Here comes our relative clause. Qui artibus pugnandi ducti erant, who had been taught, or who had been instructed, artibus pugnandi, in the arts of fighting. So pugnandi, genitive singular of the gerund of pugno. Okay? So do you see the way these are working? You're looking for English words that end in ing, like fighting or running or swimming. And in Latin they are second declension neuter nouns, always singular, going like bellum, very easy to form, and now that we've started using them, very easy to recognise. Okay? Number 4, we'll finish these off. Jupiter illam puellam, amoris causa in caelum rapuit. Well, this is just practicing causar. There's no gerund in this one. So Jupiter seized, rapuit, illam puellam, that girl, amoris causar, for the sake of love. Okay. And finally, number 5, dixerunt paucos cives aptos ad regendum esse. They said, paucos cives, that few citizens, aptos ad regendum esse, were suitable, aptos is suitable, they said that few citizens were suitable ad regendum for ruling. You know, when they were looking around for people to rule them, they said that there were few citizens suitable for ruling. Okay, so there we go. And we'll just do some going the other way, just for the sake of good practice. So if we go into exercise 9.3 now, they pitched camp for the sake of sleeping. Okay, now, to pitch camp, castra pono, to place a camp. So castra castra possuerunt, they pitched camp, for the sake of sleeping. Now remember, causar, followed by the genitive, but when used with the gerund, it comes after the gerund, not before it. So for the sake of sleeping, dormiendi causar. So you'd probably do that whole thing something like dormiendi causar castra possuerunt. Okay, and we'll just do one more. We've got this rather cool one. The bird's ears were not suitable for hearing. Okay, well, the bird's ears, auris, avis, okay, the ears of the bird, auris, avis, auris, feminine noun, were not suitable for hearing. Aptae audiendi, non erant. Or that might be auris, avis, non erant, aptae audiendi. I mean, it's a slightly silly sentence. I think when I was writing that one, I was remembering that you needed to remember the Latin for a bird and the Latin for an ear. And I thought, well, let's create a sentence which has birds and ears. It's not brilliant. Okay, well, there we go. That's gerunds. Now, just one before we leave. I don't know if you've been looking at these, but at the bottom of every page, every right-hand page in this course, we've got little Latin phrases. And people talk about, well, they pronounce it in different ways. A modus vivendi, a modus vivendi. You hear that pronounced in lots of different ways. The government was trying to establish a modus vivendi with, you know, the opposition, something like that. So there you've got the gerund of vivo, modus vivendi, okay, the way of living, manner of living. Okay, right, enough on gerunds. Now, next time we're going to learn about something called a gerundive, okay? And I won't spoil your fun by talking about it now, other than to say people do tend, if not careful, to confuse gerunds with gerundives, okay? So, make sure you're absolutely clear on what a gerund is and how to form it, and then when we move on to gerundives, be on the lookout, don't get confused. Okay, see you back here on this channel very soon. If you have any problems with any of that, drop me a comment in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.